Hi everybody, I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, high fiber and protein bars just for menopause, those over there. And we've got a really special topic today. This is a topic subject that we don't talk about a lot, not specifically. So I'm really excited to have a conversation specifically for our 60 plus ladies who have been watching on the sidelines, maybe are kind of angry and saying, why didn't my doctor tell me? Well, we know they didn't know. We know that they thought it wasn't a good idea at the time. Oh, you can't hear me. Can you guys hear me? Chaka says she can't hear me. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I've got my volume up. Let me just make sure that my audio is not in my head. Can you hear me? Let me know if you can hear me. I'll keep talking just in case. Okay. Thanks, Chaka, though. I appreciate that because sometimes you just go on and then there's something. We've got a terrible storm here happening. Okay, good. You can hear me now. A terrible storm happening here in Northern California. Thanks, Joyce. Okay, Joy. Great. Love it. Okay, wonderful. So, anywho, today, special conversation about women who are 60 plus, who have been on the fence, on the edges, on the sidelines, maybe mad as hell, thinking, how come I didn't know about hormone therapy? Why didn't I start it? Is it too late? Hi, Christine. Or can I still jump in? And to me, this is a topic really near and dear to my heart that a lot of women speak to me about because I started HRT at 59 because of that illustrious, mysterious, we're going to see if we should debunk it or not when Dr. LaReesa jumps on, window 10 years after becoming postmenopausal. I see you here, Dr. LaReesa, so I'm going to bring up the expert. I'm just talking, right? I only play an expert on Tuesdays. Hold on. All right, here we go. Happy Fat Tuesday. Both LaReesa and I have roots in New Orleans, so hey you.
Hi, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I had to switch.
Audio thing too. Is this where we say, let the good times roll?
We can, people from Louisiana, we can say that all year. It'll still be appropriate.
It's always Mardi Gras in Louisiana. I know. I'm California, New Orleans. You are legit Louisiana. So
Well, I've been in Florida for over 2 decades now, and apparently I am a Floridian, no problem, but you cannot take the Louisiana girl out of me. So
you cannot. My family, my kids are already posting in our family chat pictures from the last time they were in New Orleans for Jazz Fest and eating beignets. So I'm just waiting for somebody to say, who's got the king cake? Where's the baby?
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to put a shout out to a place across the street from my office. Can I say their name? Can I say their name? Okay. Yes. So Beignets and Brew. And I met the owner. We've had like a private event there before, and they have great beignets that will potentially give, some other companies a run for their money, but they're selling king cakes from Gambino's. And New Orleans, so it's like, oh my God, that's so nice. It was meant for me to be around the corner.
You have to run across the street after the MenoLounge and go get a cake. And
I am actually.
That whole cake thing with the baby, I think it's kind of sketchy because I don't want anybody swallowing that little baby. But anyway,
that's a true
if you want to
statement.
know what the baby signifies in the king cake, you're going to have to DM Dr. LaReesa directly, and she's going to.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Just know it's good fortune. It's just good fortune.
Okay. I know. I love that we're both have that background in common. So let's talk about my postmenopausal ladies, 60 forward. And if you're like 58 or 59 or 57, or you're in the latter years of the 10-year window, listen up, because I know, because I hear these women every day. They're talking to me, they're DMing me, they're texting me, they're emailing me, and they're mad as hell. Okay. They want to know, why were we left out? Well, we know why we're left out. Okay. So we can set that aside, but what can we do? What can women do? And I was sharing right before you came on that I started hormone therapy at 59. Hello, progesterone, save me. But is it safe? Let's just first tackle straight away the 10-year window. So women, it's still out there. You should not consider starting hormone therapy after you've been 10 years postmenopausal. So you have your day, and then you got a 10-year window. Is that still true?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's a big deal.
I didn't mean, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Honestly, I promise.
Yeah.
That was so random. I'm sorry. It was just like, anyway, so I apologize for that, but it's been a little strange weather lately. So I want to start off with, it's a difference between understanding routine initiation within that 10-year window versus really looking at it from careful evaluation. Like, we know there's a stratification, stratifying risk, making sure that this is not a one size fits all. This is making sure that you understand hormone therapy and the benefits. And what we've seen, and things similar to the ELITE trial, or basically a trial that evaluated early initiation and late initiation of estradiol, and I'm specifically going to pinpoint that particularly, is that what we have landed on is we feel safer in saying that within that 10-year window, you're seeing more benefits and a better time, or the closer you are to that transition into menopause. So whether it's in that perimenopausal or right after menopause, that safety profile is definitely more beneficial for you. I am interested, by the way, especially when we're talking about cardiovascular risk. Okay, so I want to be specific about that too.
Oh, don't worry. I have a question specifically about that, because I know that's a big deal. All right.
Yeah, that's a huge deal, and we want to make sure that potential profile is evaluated. But I really do want to stress the evaluation component, because you can be able to start after 60. We just have certain things to support in place based on data of how we can counsel women to have them more comfortable with even initiating. Because remember, the conversation of feeling more comfortable about it, that conversation is just starting to really, blossom and bloom over the past few years, especially with the removal of the black box warning.
Exactly. Perimenopausal is still getting comfortable. I don't know that women know that there are just a hair less than 5% of eligible women who are actually using hormone therapy,
or even offered,
or even let alone offered, right? And so that is a significantly smaller number than the women that were on hormone therapy before the big study came out and said no.
Yes.
So there's a huge gap of women who are not on it, whose mothers, like mine, said don't take it because they were on it and then switched off. But are like, hey, is it possible? So what we know is there are some different protocols. So let's just say, yes, you are potentially still a candidate. So let's take off the no, never, the song no, never, No, that's not the situation.
That's not the situation.
Not the situation. So before we talk about cardiovascular, because that's a really big part of whether or not a woman over 60 should or shouldn't consider hormone therapy, is it still, we know perimenopausal, that hormone therapy is considered protective potentially to heart disease, protective of our brains, etc. Do we still have protective benefits over 60, or is it just helpful?
I want to make sure I amend what you said. We know within 10 years of menopause, because you said perimenopause. So I don't want, because that's saying people who are menstruating, that you're safer of starting from those people who are not menstruating within that 10-year window. So I want to make sure that I modify that. Because right now that's where that conversation is more important.
Can be 10 years before you even get to the 10-year window. Yeah, great point. Thank you.
Snap. No worries. But we're still talking additional potential benefits, and if I can extend the question, because you're still going to have women potentially who have symptoms, from everything that impacts menopause. And that's every system in your body, from your brain, your heart, just having symptoms that related to climacteric. So your hot flushes, your night sweats, your sleep, bone density, when it comes to how your bone remodels. And that's important because what we do know is that it can definitely help, and it definitely supports those potential benefits of bone density, but it's how the bone is remodeled. Like throughout your life, it is going through a restructuring process. A certain amount is being built and broken down. What we know in menopause is that that becomes an uneven process without even estrogen being around. So it becomes what we call more protective in that. And then the biggest thing, that we need to talk about is quality of life restoration. Women are living full lives after 60. Women are like still checking W-2s. Let's keep this practical because I think this is important.
Building businesses.
Business. Yeah. Just, hey, for example. And I think when we put that window of what that woman looks like, it's not the one that we saw a long time ago where you may have had a singular household. The mom was usually not that working person. And, but now women are contributing to $1 trillion of our economic growth, either through business, through workforce, or just being present. And they're the cornerstones of their families and the highest amount of caregivers and the ones that are more impacted oftentimes with that quality of life once those diseases hit. So when you're having those kind of conversations, that's the practicality because a lot of these people are still getting W-2s. These people are still paying taxes. These people, that's what that 60-year-old looks like plus. And they are contributing a lot to our economic workforce and our families.
Right.
Why shouldn't they benefit?
Right. What she said. Cha-Cha said yes. And Christine said love quality of life restoration. Absolutely. 50s, we are hitting our strides. It's happening, all the things there. But 60s, it's kind of different because hopefully most of those little people, if you have them in the house, they are out the door. You're really leaning into what you want to do, claiming, Cha-Cha says, come on now, yes. We got some church in here today. Some church up in here on Mardi Gras on Fat Tuesday. But, really claiming what we have left inside of us, or maybe something that we had pushed down. And so, of course, it wants to come out in your 60s. And so you got to have all the juice you've got in order to get that thing going. Yeah. Out the door and then over the finish line, right? So,
yeah. This is time period of maybe, I think it's some sentiment that you have told me and other women of this magical age group is just, you just get to a point where you don't give a F, right? And so it's less of that trying to please, and you have the total somersault of what can I do to continue to live a full life because I'm done doing that. Like that's old school. I'm done. Like,
Well, and it's interesting. It shifts too from, especially, like the We Don't Care movement, which is so phenomenal with Melanie. That's so incredible. But
has she been on here yet? You need to get her on here.
I know. We need to have her on the MenoLounge.
I want to come.
Hello. Come on, Melanie. You need to be here. But also, in your 60s, it kind of shifts, I think, from like, I don't care, but I really do care about what matters in my life now. Like the things that were just sort of annoying and other people's agendas, don't care. But the things that really matter to me get amplified in your 60s. So you really want to be able to have the energy to be able to lean into that. Cha-Cha said, yes, Melanie, she is the truth. That is the truth. That is the truth. She's the truth. Okay, so we now know that the 10-year window post-menopausal after your 1 day, and by the way, I don't know what you think about this, but Dr. Sharon Malone says we're post-menopausal forever. Women come up to me,
which is true,
at an event or something. Oh, these are for women in menopause. I'm like, yeah, peri to post. Oh, I've already done that. I'm like, girlfriend, I got news for you.
I agree. And it's, and it can be confusing because people use it in different ways in social media, and menopause in general is the SEO term. So
we're all searching on the menopause, and here comes perimenopause. Thank goodness, but post is like, who am I? Okay, that's so true. We know the 10-year window. There's blurry edges there. Ask for what you need. Make sure you're speaking to a provider, which we'll come back to that understands.
Yeah, because I
And
do
we
want to
know
touch
that
on that.
the protective benefits are potentially earlier on, but it's still super helpful once we're over 60. Yep.
Yes, and those still potential benefits that exist as well. It's sometimes challenging to decipher with all of that, because what we do know is that women's research lacks and has been behind in a lot of this. So a lot of times this may be from observational data, but all the other data of really putting more of that punch to that may not be as so obvious, but there's enough stuff out there that can support to do something very safely, very beneficial. And so and that kind of leads me into understanding the framework. There's still a mind-body connection that I like in certain influences out there. Just making the decision and making sure you're having that healthy conversation about it, but understand that this time of life deserves a different strategy, right? It deserves a different look that matters to you and what's important to those outcomes, because you still need to look at your sleep. You still need to look at these other vitals of your life. This is a time frame where, I've seen several patients lately. They've had chronic hypertension to their 30s. So that means that cardiovascular model for them needs to be stratified, where I'm not going to put this blanket Band-Aid fix across anybody of 60 who's been dealing with cardiovascular disease since they're 35, in consideration. So that comes with the careful evaluation of understanding that benefits risk ratio. And honestly, that should be in any medication. Let me be clear. If you are with a physician or a practitioner and you're getting a prescription, understand hormone therapy is just as much as any other prescription you're given. If you're not asking similar questions about your benefits risk profile, what is the short-term, long-term benefits, then you're doing yourself a disservice. We just happen to be talking about it within our community because hormone therapy is the topic. But honestly, it should be a general rule over 60, because I see a lot of polypharmacy in this community.
What
Lots
is
of
polypharmacy?
Ooh, sexy word, isn't it? I think so.
Right?
Very,
New word
very
in the
sexy word.
vocabulary. Okay.
Okay, but just many medications. People don't understand why they're on it, on a lot of stuff. And people they don't know why. And they're like thumbing through their pharmacy profile to get their medication list. And then also trying to get, not wanting to really to be on those. So that becomes a stratifying evaluation of, thoughtfully, is there a stroke risk there? Blood clot risk? Presence of coronary artery disease, breast cancer.
Here we go. Okay, let's bring this up, because this is a really important part about considering hormone therapy after the 10-year window or 60. And it was a big deal for me at 59 to make this decision, because here I have been in this space. I get to hang out with you, all the top docs, all the green lights. Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, what am I missing out? I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to have estrogen in my body, in my brain, and risk of cardiovascular issues. So, okay, LaReesa, this is how I explain it. Tell me.
Okay.
Tell me what I think. So I like to say that, like when your pipes, your veins, your cardiovascular system hasn't had estrogen for a really long time, things get harder. They just do, which is not terrible if you have plaque that is sticking to the walls where it's supposed to stick. And then all of a sudden you start lubing up all those tubes with estrogen and things get soft again. And maybe there's potential for a little bit of plaque to release into the stream. And that's where we can have an issue, a cardiac type event. Or maybe it could be a stroke, a heart attack, or a blood clot. That's my layman's version. Now clean it up, please.
No, I thought that was I thought that was a very good explanation, because it's similar to if you allow, you've had a protective molecule or hormone around that has even potentially masked poor diet, lack of exercise, which I'm starting to name all those things of cardiovascular risk, right? Because it becomes just going to that simplicity. Now we remove that in an era of not only having these other hormones available, now we've probably added high blood pressure to the mix. This is a time where women might be diagnosed with cancer or autoimmune disease. We have everything is going back to inflammation and a dysfunctional immune system where we're constantly being bombarded and with our environmental triggers and factors. But guess what? That ends up being something that impacts our cardiovascular system and our vessels. And so you can potentially have this plaque formation, but with any compromise with your cardiovascular system, you can have an injury, you can have compromise that narrows the artery because of that plaque formation, and you have inflammation. So now you have a burdened system, and then your body has learned to remodel based on the absence of this molecule that could potentially, which is estrogen, which can potentially be more pro-inflammatory when it's entered back into the system. Okay. And so it becomes looking at it of considering, okay, when is the time since your last period, or how long you've been in this postmenopausal time period?
100 years.
Evaluating, your cardiovascular risk. And that's, getting a detailed history, because those things that tend to be more hefty on the cardiovascular system also can be hefty on your kidney system, your brain system, like these things is multifactorial. A lot of times we put things in pockets. But a common thing I speak to my patients about, I'm hoping you will see me as a doctor that you've come here for your symptoms, but I am here to amplify and optimize your system. Because I know that I can have better outcomes that way if I'm looking at the full picture of how these things work together. And then evaluating, if someone meets this criteria, then you're doing a lab evaluation outside of that, complete history and physical. Like, that's one of the things of being able to sit in front of a patient, evaluate them, understand, it could be simple things from looking at their tongue and seeing if they have nutrient deficiencies, to seeing if, hey, a lot of women end up with a lot of lymphedema and swelling at the end of the day. So a lot of that navigation of stratifying, all that goes into this seesaw of evaluating benefits versus risk. And then understanding the root, because we have a lot of studies on the oral route of estrogen, and I'm just going to keep it in the category of looking at non-synthetic modalities that are available. But some of the oral formulations may have more of a thrombotic risk factor profile for someone, where you may decide to definitely go to more transdermal, right, like your patches, your mists, your gels, etc., because you're looking at that risk profile efficiently. And then what are your targets for therapy? When you're looking at that risk profile, you evaluate the patient, you've looked at their labs, you're understanding what that looks like for them. Then when it comes to the actual prescription, they understand why, the what, the dosing, how long, and the potential benefit, and then you can follow those things, because it can still be definitely potential benefits that you still see in what we can prove within that transition, within that 10-year window, that can also be for our over 60 women as well.
Really, really good. Really good. Cha-Cha, not Chaka, I called you Chaka, Cha-Cha. She's got all kinds of comments here.
Okay, I think I'm missing the comments. Like,
you can't see them down
see
there.
Them. Yeah, I can't see
you
them.
You said woo to something. I wasn't sure if that's because I said I hadn't had a period in 100 years or all the things you were talking about. That's good. You're absolutely correct, because everybody is different. And she said her sister just started on the estrogen patch. Yes. And I just have to give a shout out to the progesterone, because if you have a uterus, you need to protect your uterus. If you're taking estrogen, bottom line, you will sleep like a baby. If you haven't been sleeping, that's the one thing I wish I had started sooner. But if sleep is elusive, and as Dr. LaReesa loves to say, which is so true, sleep hygiene is everything. Well, it's one of the big things, big levers. Progesterone goes a long way to help you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned women with uterus, because this is a question that came up within actually the last week, because somebody was concerned about being on a progesterone when they had their uterus taken out, and only knowing that, I guess I don't need that. I don't have a uterus. And once again, going back to, hey, you're not sleeping well. I know that if we're talking about optimizing things and you're across what we call your blood-brain barrier, optimizing your cognition, making sure that your body's able to restore at night. When I'm explaining the benefit of, I think we can add this to your stack comfortably, because now you understand, like you and somebody else who's sleeping like a baby with just magnesium or whatever supplement stack that they're using, fine, but you're not gaining that. So if I add this, I'm able to help what we call your GABA, your relaxation cycles within your body. It tends to be more anti-inflammatory. It helps calm the nervous system, because a lot of stuff is going back to, once again, inflammation, how you manage your nervous system between your sympathetic and parasympathetic tones. And now you understand why I'm going to add that. And yes, you don't have a uterus, but now you can see the potential benefit of where this can go. It can help relax your vessels. Yeah. So I think that goes into people understanding not only an individualized component, but now they understand why my doctor has me on and I don't have a uterus.
Right. Makes sense. I'm glad you addressed that, because hysterectomies, I don't know, they just seem to resurrect. It seemed like we went through a lull with no hysterectomies, and then all of a sudden, lots of hysterectomies. Cha-Cha said she needs to come see you. I was just going to tell you, Cha-Cha, I wouldn't wait till the summer when you have your annual appointment. I would reach out to Dr. LaReesa. And so both Cha-Cha, she said she's 61, sleep is her struggle. Joy said 62, her period ended at 55. Sleep and skin are horrible right now. Sister, if you're not on hormone therapy, both of you, see if it is a good fit for you. It is not a one size fits all, right? Just like we said, everyone is different, but speak to your own doctor. If your doctor is not menopause forward, how about that? No, because not every doctor's had training, not their fault. They were told it was not a good thing. But then you need to find a doctor like Dr. LaReesa or a telemed doctor that's in your state, or that that you can work with, in order to and a doctor that understands menopause can really help you go through the whole process, questionnaire, test. Do you need an EKG? Do you need to have your calcium
cardiac score? I use that a lot.
All of those things, those are important. Those are the things that, around our heart. Those are the things I made sure that I had at 59 before making that final decision. But progesterone alone, I act like I'm a progesterone pusher, LaReesa. I'm talking about
it. Back like when I was initially doing my training I trained a long time ago and finished residency. Gosh, almost 20 years ago. But I remember when I was making my transition of trying to understand what else was going on, because I did remember seeing those patients like, all your labs are normal. I don't know what to tell you, but we can start this and just going. But that was definitely an impetus for me to start educating separate. Like I started seeking that, like long time ago. Exactly.
A long time ago.
But I say that to say, what was really phenomenal about that was I started reading some of other people at the time, like, because social media was there, but it's like taking its own beast now, right? And I remember it was Dr. Lee. He had written a lot of perimenopause book. He's passed away now. And it was like my beginning of understanding and that was the thing. He always talked about progesterone, especially when it came to supporting perimenopausal women, because of the fluctuating swing so much of estrogen, that anti-inflammatory, or that police, what I usually call or describe to people, that policing of estrogen swing can often be balanced by adding progesterone. And honestly, most women probably do have some kind of progesterone deficiency, especially if in your reproductive years you had miscarriages or had difficulty getting pregnant, or just some other areas, endometriosis, whatever. So all of those things may imply that there is a potential defect or deficiency there. And then now you add that, without estrogen. That's the thing. So oftentimes in my protocols, I'm actually looking at what are your cycles? What are they doing? let's do a one stepwise type thing. And if I can even see if I can adjust even with progesterone, a lot of times that can do a hell of good, and this is before I've added testosterone. This is before, and in a way where I call it progesterone supplementation, or not necessarily hormone replacement therapy, but hormone supplementation. So we're supplementing in a way to help balance or to help align. That's my new word. It's like, it's hard to say balance when you just need to align your system.
Nothing is balanced, after ever, I think, for a woman, ever. But anyway, we try.
We try hard.
I like it.
We try hard.
That's really good. I love that. And it's where, we're all learning. We're all learning. Things are changing. That's okay. We're learning, things are changing. And so that's why it's so important to reach out to a doctor like Dr. LaReesa that practices every day, that is in the forefront of what's happening, Menopause Society certified, so all the latest, but also has that real life experience. So I have my medical provider through a large medical system, not named. They do a great job, but I also have menopause doctors, more than one, because I'm like that, on my success team, because you need to have all the people. We deserve to have all the people, especially after 60. I mean, all the way. Not that perimenopause isn't important, but that's a different episode. But,
absolutely.
We're kind of like the lost generation, because I'm barely Gen X, but most are not Gen X. Most of us are not Gen X. And we did not benefit from this conversation. And so there's that feeling, there's a lot of anger of missing out. But we don't have to miss out on everything. So, but we're also tend to be very afraid. We're sponsor of the M Factor perimenopause film. And so I've been everywhere. I was just in Seattle last week, and then LA.
I see.
I don't even know all the places, but it's great because I get to talk to
a true champion.
It's so fun. Come to Berkeley. We've got a screening on March 21st.
You do?
Panel.
Okay. Let's talk. Yes, let's talk. I'm serious.
Everybody's welcome. Please. But I also hear women when they say, "Oh, I'm postmenopausal," or a woman in the audience said, "I'm 67. I'm so sad." And I went up to her and I said, "Go talk to your doctor. Go talk to a menopause specialist and see, because you never know." Kind of like Joy and Cha-Cha. She's just no sleep. And how do we function at our best without sleep? We don't.
True statement. And I want to touch on, what that evaluation can not only talk about the history and physical understanding, this risk factor, but some of the tests that may assist with even making that decision. So let me give you two recent scenarios. I like to use because I do weight management, because that's part of this era, especially with women. Regardless, if we're talking about metabolic health, it goes way beyond a GLP-1 conversation. It goes into, okay, how are you living? How are you moving? What are the metrics we're going to follow? Because if you're not doing GLP therapy like that, I don't know what you're doing. So, but that's not
taking it
exactly.
Extra, I mean, I'm so glad
that's my point.
We haven't talked about nutrition and exercise, the biggest levers we have, right?
Yes.
So keep going.
Absolutely, without doubt. But so one scenario was having a patient, and based on her family's risk factors, like she had a mom who had a early fracture that potentially debilitated, but just knew how that changed her trajectory in health. She wanted an earlier bone density scan, a little, I don't know, she was 60, 61 or what have you, hadn't started HRT, wanting to have that conversation. But when you have some cards that are kind of stacked up in a way where you look good, you're active, you've initiated some great things in your diet. I'm not focusing on your BMI, but I see that you're working on increasing your muscle mass. You're looking at your macronutrients and micronutrients every day. And then you wanting to know your risk factors. So I look at your fasting insulin, your hemoglobin A1C to see how your blood sugars. I do use cardiac scores a lot. Honestly, if someone hasn't had a cardio evaluation, actually, I do get a lot more cardiology evaluations just because I think more proactively anyway. Why wait for disease to happen when we have enough technology?
Right.
Yeah, right. So I do that a lot. And so when you have that informed information and then on top of it, you see what it did to a family member and your bone density test says osteopenia, to her it was a no-brainer because she knows if she depended on one system that says, well, you don't have osteoporosis, so, we can't treat, so calcium, vitamin D, exercise, da, 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 da. But I can add to the conversation, well, you have all these good benefits. Why not add something that can add to that protective layer for you?
Right.
Because
osteopenia is the loss, right?
The loss, not, and, or showing some changes in that bone density structure. Yeah, because it's all about how your bone is starting to remodel. And if it's breaking down more than it's building up and it's not the balance of the two.
Not remodeling in a good way.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So for her, it's a no-brainer because, yes, I look at my tests, I'm practicing these other good things with my quality of life. That also adds to reducing somebody's cardiovascular risk, then I can safely let's put you on hormone therapy because not only this, we know that it's going to add this other benefit and reviewing all the other things that potentially are adding to this, absence of estrogen or absence of really optimizing your system in the right way. Yeah. So just to understand what that profile can look like, because that's a stratification or evaluating with some kind of detail why someone will understand because it's an informed decision, not a fear one.
Right. I love that. It's so important. Mm-hmm. It is so important. An informed, not a fear-based decision. That's why you have to find a doctor that knows what they're talking about and is interested. Let's see what Christine said. Yeah, another point too is that you might start on a particular protocol, but it could also change over time. So
very important, very important. Gone are the days, and this is how I like to approach it. Gone are the days of get it and forget it.
Right.
You never put a cake in the oven without a timer, right? You don't want to burn
Sometimes
that sucker.
I do, and
right?
It burns.
Okay, see, right? That's not the outcome you want, And I think that's important. So once again, that question: what are we following? I call it my WTFs. What is the short term, and what is the long term, and that sustainable outcome. So it could be, hey, you're on maintenance, you're good. But in that beginning time, we understand, okay, that follow-up, that could be, anytime I start somebody on HRT, I'm going to see them again within 4 to 6 weeks, at the latest 8 weeks. It's very important to get that initial feedback of how they're doing. So we can go to the next step.
Do you run any tests after a year, or if they're feeling fine, you just keep going with it?
Only because I see things in a more comprehensive way. There are tests that I may be doing twice a year, no matter what. And if it comes to specific hormone testing, it just depends what it is and what specifically I know I'm following, because I've had people on estrogen for years, they're feeling great, and that number doesn't budge 20. Am I going to increase their, no, because I think they're still on the most effective dose for them, So because on a science side of it, and not to get nerdy, it depends on how you metabolize your therapy, like in your system. And also there's something called receptors. Everybody, the amount of receptors in one place may be different. That may not necessarily equate the response or the outcome in the next person. And those are just the little things that hormones are attaching to in order to signal the cell. So a lot of this has to do with the mechanics of how your body's signaling when these things are in the environment. So
all the more reason to find a menopause doctor that really understands postmenopausal women, because let's just get even more nuanced, right? Now that we have more doctors specializing in menopause and perimenopause, I still think there's a little reticence around after 60. So you're going to have to go a little bit deeper. DM Dr. LaReesa, reach out to her. Where can they find you? Because I already know people want to find you. So
Yes. So if you're in the state of Florida and you need a doctor like myself, I can see you in person or through virtual. For sure, for sure, for sure. Do I do consultations? Absolutely, and actively have a large patient base. So you can catch me at thrivebeyondwellness.com or DM or tag me here in the Instagram or social media space. But definitely welcome to serve you. And then most importantly, I always want to know what people are asking, what they're looking for, what's missing. Because what I'm finding now, I'm seeing a lot of patients who don't want telehealth. They want to be able to establish a relationship with their patient, with their doctor, or know that they can see them in person. And that has been a benefit of knowing how I can take care of people in a way that goes beyond just online, and making sure that it's comprehensive the way that they want to have their care.
Yeah, I love that. That shows how far this conversation has gone. That women, first of all, had no doctor to turn to. And then now we're saying telehealth is good, but I would really like to meet with someone in person. That says a lot to me.
Yes.
Really. Okay, so in a nutshell, are women who are 60 or older still eligible to consider hormone therapy?
Yes.
That's it. We're not left out. We're not left out.
You're not left out. You're not left out.
Just find the right doctor.
Yes.
Dr. LaReesa, thank you, thank you. I know
Thank
you got
you.
doctoring to do today.
All right. Happy Mardi Gras. No
Thank
problem.
you. Happy Mardi Gras, everybody.
Okay.
And those who know, let the good times roll.
Let the good times roll. Bye.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.